Megan Fieramusca pretended to be pregnant to try and save a failing relationship. But when she realized she didn't have a real baby to deliver, she turned to desperate measures. Thank you to Lifetime for partnering with me, and here's a quick clip from their movie Stolen Baby, The Murder of Heidi Broussard.
I'm pregnant. Say something.
Well, you should stay then.
What do you mean?
That means you don't need to move out, at least until the baby comes, right?
Well, I mean, I can see if my other place is still available.
No, please, please stay. I want to make sure the baby has everything. Okay?
So you're not mad?
Mad? No. No. This is not how I would have planned this, but, hey, I mean, I've always wanted a family.
You can watch this movie and other ripped from the headlines movies for free all of April at mylifetime.com/watchripped.
Did Netflix use AI to create fake photos of a murderer? I'd heard of this case before, and watching the documentary last weekend, it seems like Netflix had gotten exclusive photos. What Jennifer Did is a true crime documentary on Netflix about the case of Jennifer Pan. She hired a hitman to kill her parents and hide her double life. Several articles online point out these photos. It seems like she's missing fingers, which is a trademark of AI. And I also just noticed that in this left photo, her top teeth do not line up with the bottom row. It's like one tooth is behind. And these photos did stick out to me while watching the documentary. I was familiar with the case, but I feel like this was the main photo that you'd see. And a lot of sources online seem to just rely on her interrogation photos in this white t-shirt with a braid. But while watching it, I assumed that they had gotten these photos from a friend. Because they did have interviews with friends of Jennifer's as well as the investigators, and I did think the documentary was good overall. But what's the point of this? I mean, looking at it now, it does look very, airbrushed, to say the least. So, at best, I think the photos were very blurry or poor quality, and they just enhanced them, and that's why they have this overall fake look. Or maybe this is just one of the ways that AI is going to change the media we consume. Personally, I do think it's very odd to create AI for true crime because those two things are just complete opposite ends of the spectrum. But if you look online, there's really not that many photos of Jennifer, but again, Netflix has a lot more resources than I do. I don't know if the story will get big enough to where they have to make a statement on it, but let me know what you guys think in the comments.
These are scary urban legends that were proven to be real, part 1. Up first is the Candy Lady. In the early 1900s, children in an unnamed small town in Texas started to go missing out of nowhere. And every single one of the residents blamed it on the Candy Lady. The story says she would go around leaving candy on kids' windows, and she would eventually lure the children out with notes attached to the candy saying they will get more candy. The story started getting extremely popular when a farmer found rotten teeth in his farm and also a young boy's dead body with his pockets stuffed with candy. So if you live in Texas, you better watch out for the Candy Lady.
Would do something like this to my beautiful baby. She hurt nobody. She harmed nobody.
A devastating crime has struck the community of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A 33-year-old man named Maxwell Anderson has been charged with the murder and dismemberment of 19-year-old Sadie Robinson. Anderson, a former high school football star and son of a local millionaire insurance broker, allegedly took Sad out on a date before killing her. Sade was reported missing when she didn't show up to her job at a local pizza shop the day after her date with Anderson. Vehicle fire responders discovered that her car had been set on fire and went on to discover parts of her dismembered body in the park. As the former football star's residence was investigated, investigators found clear signs of a crime, blood traces on a bed and walls leading to his basement, along with several gasoline canisters. He was arrested on a traffic stop later that day. Not only had Anderson worked in the insurance business with his father, but he also described himself as a bartender on social media. It was in this profession that he met Sade, as he had previously worked at the restaurant they went to on their date. A former co-worker described Anderson as erratic, often getting very drunk at work. Another former friend of Anderson's mentioned an unusual occurrence when he visited Anderson's home and found a massive hole he was digging in his backyard. Robinson was a beloved figure in her community and was working toward a degree in criminal justice at the Milwaukee Area Technical College. Anderson's history includes past convictions for battery, domestic abuse, and drunk driving. As the community comes to terms with such a heinous act, we mourn alongside Sadie's family, friends, and all those who loved her.
The girl you are looking at has no idea that she's about to take the most unexplainable photo in history. This is 5-year-old Elizabeth, and this is her father Jim, who instructed her to sit down so that way he could take a picture of her in her brand new dress. He took a total of 3 pictures while his wife and his other daughter stood right beside him. When the photos were developed, Jim found on the second photo there's a large humanoid figure standing behind him that resembles a spacesuit. The couple came out and said, "We were in an empty field, there was no sort of bystanders, and I think we would have known if somebody was standing behind our daughter." Jim had the photo examined by Kodak Lab, and they said the anomaly in the picture is original negative, which means this thing behind her is physically present there, like it's real. This picture was taken in 1964. Obviously there was no sort of Photoshop, but if you think that's the craziest part, listen to this. This all made headlines, and Kodak Labs offered $1 million to anybody who could disprove this photo. And to this day, it has never been paid out. More recently, people have been saying they have debunked this by saying it's really her mother standing behind her. And I don't know, her mother was wearing a blue dress that day, and they basically said the overexposure from the light made it look white. Here are the pictures side by side, and you kind of let me know what you guys think. So is this Jim's wife in the background, or is this something we've never seen? Make sure to like and follow for tomorrow's video.
Did you know Gordon Ramsay survived a terrifying murder attempt? Gordon Ramsay is a British celebrity chef, well known for TV shows such as Hell's Kitchen and Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. He's been given a total of 17 Michelin stars. He's arguably one of the most influential chefs in the world. However, his life was nearly taken in a shocking incident in Costa Rica in 2011. Gordon had been filming for a Channel 4 show called Shark Bait. The show was about the fishing industry, and Gordon and his team were trying to shed light on the cruel practice of shark hunting. Smugglers would cut sharks' fins off and leave them to die, and needless to say, Gordon was really against this. In a terrifying ordeal during the filming of the program, Gordon and the crew were confronted by a gang involved in illegal substances. The gang poured a barrel of petrol all over Gordon and his team and threatened their life. They were then held at gunpoint and told that if they didn't stop filming, they would be killed. Local police showed up and advised Gordon and his crew to leave the country.
150 miles away to celebrate her 18th birthday with her boyfriend. When Cootie returned home after almost 6 days, her baby wasn't waking up, and sadly nothing could be done to save Asaya.
Have you seen a guy in a picture that shows up with an upside down face?
What are you talking about here?
There's an urban legend. So in pictures of tragedy, there's always a guy somewhere in the background with an upside down face.
What?
Like an upside down face. This is shown through history, fam. Trust me. So this whole thing started with an artist. It's a guy with an upside down face with a big grin. And every time he's shown in pictures, it's always in tragedy because he loves feeding off people's bad energy and traumas. So I'm gonna show you a few pictures.
Is it like popular pictures?
Popular pictures. This is very old. In a car crash. Who do you see?
Okay. Wait, what?
Next one. A car crash. This is the exact picture. Look.
This is a troll.
Look. In a New Year's party. What do you see in the background? A guy with an upside down face.
What happened at that party?
The same party, that night, a guy passed away. Last one. Boom. You see trail tracks, right?
Yeah.
Look.
This is really a headline you'd only see coming from Texas. 10-year-old boy reportedly admits to fatally shooting a stranger in the head back in 2022. And this is also while the man was sleeping. The victim behind me is Brandon Raspberry. Brandon was employed at an RV trailer company, and when he didn't show up to work, his boss got worried and went to his trailer to see what was going on. When he went inside, he found Raspberry just dead there. When deputies arrived at the scene, they found he had one single gunshot wound to the head, and his body had been dead for about 2 days before anyone found him. Now, this happened 2 years ago in 2022. Listen to this. Now, just a week ago, a principal reported a 10-year-old kid saying that he wanted to kill and hurt another student on the bus. A deputy just came and talked to the kid asking what's going on. That's when the child admitted to shooting somebody 2 years ago. They took him to the station to interview him, and he went in detail about how he shot a man in a trailer. This was Brandon Raspberry. Apparently, the 10-year-old grabbed the gun from his grandfather's RV. The child also said he didn't know Brandon personally, so he just shot this guy randomly while he was sleeping. So at the time of the shooting, the kid was about 7 years old. Because of laws, you can't really charge a child until they're 10, so he's being charged for threatening another kid on the school bus, but he can't be charged for this apparently. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below, and as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
Holy crap, have y'all seen this story? This is Erica de Souza Nunez from Rio de Janeiro, and earlier this week, she rolled her deceased uncle into a local bank in a wheelchair to try to secure a loan. Now, behind me is the deceased uncle. I'm not going to show him here. However, you can see the video of this on TMZ. In the video, you can see she's clearly having to hold his head up. She continues to talk to him, asking him if he understands, if he can hear her. At one point, she even attempts to place a pen in his hand so that he can sign this loan for her. Of course, bank authorities knew that something was wrong, so they did call the police. The victim was identified as Paulo Roberto Braga. And they say that he had been dead at least for several hours before she wheeled him into this bank to attempt to get this $3,400 loan. Erica the niece may be charged with theft through fraud, embezzlement, and abuse of a corpse. Now authorities are trying to decide the cause of death of this man and if he has any other family members or if anyone else is involved.
Never do this. This man was walking down the street when he encountered a very strange woman, not knowing who she really was. I'll tell you who she is in this video, but first know that I can only protect those who have commented their first name, liked, and favorited the video by clicking on share, and then more. If you see a strange application, it means you are being spied on. This woman is part of a group called Legion of the Dark Veil. It's an organization that includes Kaylee and Kaylee, Brim and Scan, or Buddy as mentioned in my previous video. It's an organization that aims to terrorize our world by taking control through the power of certain demons from the other world. They are increasingly arriving on Earth, and it's chilling. At the moment, they are in what is called the recruitment phase, meaning they are trying to rally as many people as possible to their cause, to form formidable army. And the most terrifying thing about all this is that they can influence the responses of the people they wish to recruit through their gifts from the other world. So if you ever encounter them, be careful because your choice will not be your own.
All right, I want to talk about the whole Watcher situation and why this is a really dumb, stupid idea. So for those of you who don't know Watcher, it's BuzzFeed Unsolved, but without the BuzzFeed, independent, ran by the same team of people. They've been back on YouTube for about a year or two now, and recently they announced that they're leaving YouTube, which is a bit of a clickbait title. It's not as egregious as people are making it out to be. They are actually going to continue uploading on YouTube. They're just uploading one episode per season of whatever show they're making for free, and then charging a subscription on their own website for you to watch the rest. Now, this is a model that works. Look at Dropout, for example, which we'll get to more in a minute here. But the way they are handling this is the absolute worst way you could possibly do this. Now, Clay, why do you say that? Well, good question. And the reason is expectations. Now, in an interview with Smosh, Rhett and Link talked about how they set expectations when they launched Good Mythical Morning so that they would not hit any road bumps as far as doing sponsorship deals or things like that. Because back in the day, people were not receptive to people having YouTube sponsors at all. If you had an ad break in your own video, people would crucify you. But they made sure that on the first episode of Good Mythical Morning, no matter what, they would take whatever sponsor offered. Because that way, the audience knew, hey, this is a sponsored show. They're going to have sponsors regularly. They can't get mad about it because there's suddenly something different. That's just the expectation from the start. Now, as for Watcher, they've been doing this stuff for free for years now. They have a Patreon, they do sponsorships, they have a whole podcast and everything. They got all of the money trains coming in from YouTube that everyone expects and accepts. Which is why this move is so stupid. They have already set the expectation of this is what you get, and now they're going, actually, give me some money. Give me a little more money, please. But here's the thing. Those expectations wouldn't be in place if they just did this from the beginning. That's why Dropout works and is so successful, because when they rebranded and relaunched everything, they made it very clear what their model was from the very start. Hell, I know people who pay for Dropout. I've thought about paying for Dropout. I did the free trial and I liked it, but you know. But that's why I don't think this is going to work out. The really poor launch of this is what's making this whole thing become an uphill battle for them that I don't think they're going to win. The really poor announcement, the misleading title leading to a bunch of misinformation getting spread, the lack of directly addressing fans at all. Hell, they have, I think it's like 5,700 plus people that already give them money monthly on their Patreon that they did not tell about this at all. Again, not because this model doesn't work, but because they've already missed their opportunity to launch this without creating problems for themselves.
Write them a $100 check for a pack of gum to give you back $98 or whatever. You could go around to like a grocery store, drop me off at the front door. I'd run in, find something real quick, at the line, whatever. Pay for that, they give you back the $98. So you're making almost $100 every trip where you go around to 10, 15 grocery stores that day. Turn around sometimes on a profitable day, feeling energetic, go around on the next shift and do it again. You know what I mean? And back in those days, they didn't quite catch up with those checks in their systems like they would now.
Could take a week.
But you could even go back in those days to like Sears, buy a VCR for $150, take it back 2 days later, and they would give you cash back. You give them the receipt. They would call a check cash.
I had a buddy who would literally walk right in the door, grab a couple of gallons of paint, turn right around, walk 15 feet to the return desk and say, hey, look, we got the wrong color. I need my money back. Do you have the receipt? He'd go, I don't have the receipt. They go, okay. They give him cash. Obviously, Scotty's didn't make it very long. Now it's like, oh, we'll give you a gift card, or we'll put it back on the card, or you don't have the receipt. Oh, no, you get a card.
This is the worst thing that ever happened at a concert, and whatever you do, don't look up the video. This is a photograph from a packed out concert, and playing on the stage is the LA-based band called the Great Whites. It's a late evening on February 20th, 2003, and the band is performing at the station in Warwick, Rhode Island. Just after 11 p.m. during the opening song of Great White's set, the band pyrotechnics went off as planned. And very quickly, everything started to go horribly wrong. Almost immediately, the foam on top of the stage and the walls caught fire and the flames erupted all around. The fire spread quickly, way too quickly for anybody to react. Smoke filled the entire venue and the band was able to get out through the stage exits. But this left hundreds of audience members panicking and clambering all over each other in a desperate bid to get fresh air from outside since the whole room was filling with smoke. In the video you see people screaming and being crushed. It's honestly horrific and I don't recommend looking it up. Within 6 minutes of the pyrotechnics going off, the building was in flames. There were 4 exits for the venue, but almost all of the crowd made a break for the main entrance, the one that they all came in from. This resulted in a massive human wall of people falling on top of each other and crushing each other and blocking a lot of people inside with the flames. It would later turn out the venue was overcrowded beyond its legal limit, it had no fixed sprinkler system, and although they had a fire alarm, it wasn't connected to the local fire department. According to survivors, it's one of the most horrifying things they had ever seen. People piling up on each other, crushing anyone who was unlucky enough to be below. Half-burnt human beings being pulled from the flames. It was snowing also, so survivors were rubbing snow onto the burnt survivors. In total, 100 people lost their lives and more than 200 people were injured. Ty Longley, who was the guitarist for Great White, also died. The tour manager who set off the pyrotechnics was charged in the involuntary manslaughter of 100 people and sentenced to 15 years in prison, although he was released early as the victims' families appealed on his behalf. The owners of the venue pleaded no contest and they faced similar jail terms. This photograph shows the band and crowd of people completely unaware of the horrors that are about to happen to all of them. I don't recommend watching the video or looking it up because, as I already said, it really is horrifying.
On the morning of June 9th, 2022, an elderly woman named Maya Murmu was collecting water from a well in her village of Rapai, which is in eastern India. As she did so, there were all kinds of bystanders, and they watched as this lone Asian elephant comes walking out of the woods. And as soon as it saw Maya, it just charged directly for her, and only her. And it ran her down, knocked her to the ground, it picked her up with its trunk, and then slams her on the ground and began to trample her. And of course, everybody is yelling and screaming, but that's about all they can do because this is an adult elephant. You're not going to fight it off. So they're basically just forced to watch as this thing tramples her into the dirt. And when this elephant felt like it was done, it just turned around and walked right back into the woods without going after anybody else. It just left. But little did anybody know, this elephant was actually not done with Maya by a long shot. But when it left, they went and gathered her up, and they ran her as quickly as they could to the nearest hospital, but by the time they got there, she was pronounced deceased. Now, in this part of India, it's customary to cremate your dead and to do it quickly. So the hospital released her body back to her family and the villagers, who took her back to Rapai, and they built this giant funeral pyre, which is just a pile of sticks and logs, and placed her body on top of it to burn her. And as her family are giving their last rites in their funeral, they see, presumably, this same elephant come out of the woods again. And they all scatter, thinking that this thing is going to come back and hurt somebody else. But it's not coming after anybody else. It's coming after Maya again. It runs up to her funeral pyre, and of course, she is deceased. But all the same, this elephant picks up her body with its trunk and slams her into the dirt again and begins trampling her again. And when it does this, it's trumpeting and making all these vocalizations, which seemingly call the rest of its herd, a further 11 elephants, come out of the woods. And when they do, they start doing damage to some of the village homes. But what's interesting is they damaged 3 homes, but they only completely destroyed 1. And the one they destroyed happened to belong to Maya. Not only did they destroy her home, but they also killed all of her goats. And that was the only thing that they killed. They didn't go after any other animals or any other people. And the villagers, they were backed way off, and when they thought all the elephants had left, they came back to see the damage that had been done, and all the elephants had left, except for the initial one that came from Maya's body. It still had her body on the ground, and it was still trampling it. But eventually that elephant also left. But they captured video of all of this thing coming back and destroying Maya's body. And when that video hit the internet and went viral on Twitter for a while, people were just really confused as to why this elephants who are not known to be violent animals, did this to this person. And people started to come up with all kinds of different theories, like she was a poacher or she was working with poachers. But it's important to note there's no real evidence to this. That was all started on Twitter. We don't know why this elephant had it out against Maya, but clearly it did.